Hi everyone, my name's Tony Probert. I have the privilege of teaching your students in Year 7 in 2017 this year at Burnside Primary School. I've got a bit of a new initiative. Last year I did a lot of professional development in flipped learning. Flipped learning is around flipping the classroom, so doing a lot of teaching, I guess, through video that we upload to public spaces like YouTube, and allowing students to learn through those lessons remotely. Naturally, we don't want to do away with schools altogether, but I guess the benefit is that I could teach a maths class through a video, and then students could access that class many times to cement the learning of those skills. So I use flipped learning in my classroom to introduce concepts that are coming up in the following week. So I might produce a video on, say, multiplying fractions for your students, present that to them through YouTube, or give them access through YouTube a week prior to teaching it. Students come in on a Monday, then I would teach the concept here in the classroom, and then look to establishing that skill through repetition, practice, investigation, real life activities, online interaction and those kind of things. If I have students then that need to cement that skill, they need to be taught it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, well then there's 2, 3, 4, 5 of me through YouTube, and the students can access those any time of the day, anywhere they are. A real benefit, as I've mentioned in some of my other videos, such as the Schoology video, is that students can come back to that at any time. So my students from last year now have a resource of video lessons that I created a year ago that they can rely on now in high school. So the next step now is to flip interview times and acquaintance times like that, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. So recording my introduction to you, and I'm making that available through YouTube so that people can access that anytime they like, and that way the acquaintance evening coming up in the next couple of weeks can be used to address more important issues that you might have. So welcome first of all. I've been teaching for perhaps 22, 23 years now. I have the fortune of teaching many different levels in education across a couple of states. I was educated myself in Victoria and taught there for the majority of my career. I started out teaching in a special school, so I taught a lot of very extreme behaviours, also working with students with a number of different disabilities and issues such as autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome. There was a huge range of students, and as I mentioned, some students with some really challenging behaviours. So that really grounded me in education and gave me a great background, I believe, in acceptance and diversifying my curriculum, differentiating my curriculum, and dealing with a range of different behaviours. From there, I went into teaching primary school in the Victorian education system. I taught there for about 14 years. I taught every single year level. My first role was as a PE specialist. I was also a library teacher. I then spent a year teaching reception, or prep as we call it in Victoria, teaching 5-year-olds. That's the hardest I worked ever. And I taught right up to Year 6. I had the fortune of teaching my own son in Year 6, and funnily enough, when he graduated Year 6 and moved to Year 7, which is high school in Victoria, I graduated and moved with him. I got a job teaching at high school and went to teach excuse me, I went to teach at the same school. So I then taught high school in a private Catholic college for 5 years. I was a literacy coach, so I taught the teachers. That was probably even more difficult than teaching 5-year-olds, to tell you the truth. And I also taught Year 11 and 12 students in English and literacy, real life literacy, and a little bit of PE as well. After 5 years in the Catholic private system, then my family and I decided it was time for a sea change, and we moved here to Adelaide. And I was really, really fortunate. We moved into the local area in Burnside. I targeted this school in particular. I targeted for my own children. I had 2 students at Glenunga and one beautiful princess who's in Year 2 this year. Summer, I targeted Burnside as the school for her, and really fortunately was able to secure a position here. Just recently, last year, I was made ongoing, so permanent, in the South Australian Education Department here at Burnside, and really excited about that. I have 5 children. believe it or not. I have a blended family, my wife and I. My wife's name is Angela. She works for the Department of Human Service in the city, Centrelink. She's a qualified social worker and does a lot of fantastic work, particularly around community emergency, the Pinery bushfires, the power outages and those kind of things, working through Centrelink in South Australia. My children age, they vary in age from 22. My oldest, Charlie, is 22. He's just returned from America, where he was playing baseball at college in America in Minnesota. And my youngest is Summer, who is in year 2 here at Burnside Primary School. She's Daddy's princess. I have a 20-year-old daughter who is a hairdresser, 2 18-year-olds that we call them the twins. As I mentioned, we have a blended family, so one from my previous marriage and one from my wife's previous marriage. Billy is in year 12 at Glenunga this year. My son Dalton graduated Glenunga last year, and he is actually looking to join the South Australian Police Force this year. So, very busy man. I have massive interest in baseball. I coach state level baseball. I just coached the South Australian Under-18 team at the national tournament this last January. We won a bronze medal at the tournament. Really exciting, a little bit disappointing because we had our heart set on gold, but it was great to come away from it with a medal in that tournament. So, look, as far as education goes, I have a real belief in core skills, literacy and numeracy in education. Really big fan of reading and how important that is in the education of our children, particularly in mathematics and the sciences, the STEM kind of priorities now. If we can't read, we have real challenges in those subjects, and the basic core skills within mathematics. Saying that, very much open to technology nowadays and the way we do things with devices and these flip learning kind of priorities and other priorities around the place. Also, massive strengths or priorities in relationships. I really see a strength in partnerships with parents and students and myself. If we can work together as a cooperative team, I think we can educate our young people the best that we could possibly hope to when it's a combined effort. My classroom is always an open space. I really encourage your involvement, encourage you to pop in and see what's going on and make it evident to the students that we're working together in a partnership here to educate them the best we can. My priority for these students in year 7 is preparation for high school. I believe the best grounding and start that we can give these students entering into the big bad world of high school, the better they will be. So that's a real focus for me through the year. Preparation in organisation, self-management, keeping their options open as far as subjects are concerned, and managing their own time, being responsible for their own learning, being independent young men and women. They are real priorities for me, and I think they realistic priorities for yourselves and also for your students in giving them the best preparation for their high school career, whether it be in a private school or a public school, and any subject area that they want to tackle, keeping their options open for their lives, preparing the students for 21st century skills for jobs that probably aren't even created yet, So that's a brief background on myself and my family and what some of my priorities are. Looking really forward to meeting some of you guys through the year or perhaps at acquaintance night. Please take the time to pop in and say hello, meet me. I know a number of people have already, and I've really enjoyed that. And hopefully look forward to seeing you involved in some of our community, school community events throughout the year. I have a number of other videos available on my YouTube channel. I have one introducing you to the classroom space. I have one outlining Schoology, our virtual classroom space online. So hopefully you can access those videos and learn a little bit more about what we're doing at Burnside Primary School, and particularly in room 10. All the best.